Welcome to Addicted to Watches. Today, we will be doing something a little different from usual. Today, we're heading out into the wild and visiting a second-hand store that has locations throughout Japan, Book Off. At many of these shops, there are watches, and the one we're going to today has quite a few interesting ones. They even had some Grand Seikos for under $1,000. Starting off, we have this first cabinet here with mainly Swiss watches. In particular, there were quite a few tags, which don't interest me too much, as I've never been a huge fan of the brand. However, as we move further down, we'll come across these three Frederique Constant watches, which are a bit more interesting. Also good to see was this ball, as you don't come across them very often. Then it's on to Omega, and here we have an old court Seamaster, some ladies' dress watches, and then a few different variations of the Speedmaster. A couple of tags, including this vintage one, and a Reverso, which I'm personally a big fan of. It was nice to see the JLC here in person. This bottom row is pretty much all Omega, with a Planet Ocean and some Speedmasters. In the next cabinet, they had this vintage Tudor Prince Oyster Date. It was a bit pricey, but considering its age was in great condition. Now we get to the first lot of Grand Seikos here. This first one you'll see is a pre-separation with the dual Seiko branding, priced under $1,000. All the modern GS watches they had here were quartz, but, as we'll see, they also had a very nice high-beat vintage Grand Seiko. Also nice to see in the flesh was this Nomos, something a little less common. Below that, we have some interesting pieces from IWC, like these dress watches, as well as from Breitling. In the lower cabinet, there are some more pieces from IWC. But what really caught my eye in this cabinet were the Tudors at the bottom. Especially this full bronze one. On to the next cabinet, and we have some vintage Seiko divers, which might be Captain Willard's, but I'm not completely sure. In addition, there were many more modern Seiko divers, including samurais and sumos. This Landmaster was also interesting to see. This Presage was very nice to come across. It was a limited edition released in 2018, with 1,000 pieces made in Japan, and features a white dial with a cherry blossom pattern radiating out from the center. I was quite tempted to pick this one up. It's also interesting to see the humble SKX reach such lofty prices for the Japan-made 009 versus the regular 007 here. The next cabinet starts with an interesting JDM Seiko Brights that has a carbon fiber texture to the dial, as well as some miscellaneous Seikos. A couple of Seiko 5s here too, with the sea urchin among them. There weren't as many Orients here as there has been other times, but this Orient Star GMT with stainless bezel and this Burgundy Orient Komatsu stood out to me. In particular, that was a good price for the Komatsu. Below those are some Casios, and this Oceanus was very nice. I've seen a few videos reviewing that one, and everyone rates it pretty highly. There was a surprising range of Hamiltons here too. While most were mainly quartz here, it was good to see some models besides your run-of-the-mill khakis. Underneath those, there was a row of Luminox watches, and while they are not my cup of tea, it is always good to see some tritium watches. Mixed in with the miscellaneous brands was this Junghans and a couple of Mido watches. That first Mido we saw technically beats my Trebus as the cheapest chronometer, coming in at just under $350. It still had the hang tag, and I suspect it was new. Also hiding in there were a couple of Zeppelins and an all-black Orient Ray. That vintage Longines quartz surprised me, and especially at that price. For under $100, I almost picked it up. Also in here was a vintage Seiko Lord quartz for a cheap price that tempted me too. This final cabinet was saving the best for last. It was full of vintage Seikos. This Lord Marvel caught my eye with its linen dial. We had a King Seiko High Beat and another Bellmatic, in black this time. Up the back there is a vintage Citizen, and next to it a nice Omega Seamaster. On the row below, we can see an open heart Seiko with rose gold accents, and a King Seiko in all gold. On its side here is a Grand Seiko with the classic 44 GS case for about $600, and next to it another high beat example. The GS's keep coming here with a third next to those. A cool King Seiko with the cushion case also caught my eye here. Underneath those, there was a more affordable Seiko 5 Actis, and next to that, yet another Grand Seiko, this time under $500. This silverware also got my attention with its subtle vertical dial texture. Vintage white dial is the theme for this shelf, it seems, with the third Bellmatic, Grand Seiko, and King Seiko. I thought this next King Seiko was a bit unusual with the cream dial color and Roman numeral combo. An Omega constellation rounds out my interest in this row. The original box of this Longines Ultrachron was interesting to see, as was this vintage IWC for a reasonable price. This King Seiko, you'll notice, has the slightly different branding to all the others we've seen, and looks very much like the recently released collection from Seiko. Hiding at the back, there was a little Longines, and a Zenith I couldn't quite get a full look at. Another Lord Marvel, and another linen dial, pretty much round off our little shopping trip. What do you think about this video? Did you see any watches you would have bought? Have you visited Japan and Book Off before? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.